Hey you guys, welcome to day 2 of this project. Here's where the fun's gonna start. It's gonna be amazing. So we've got your design drawn out, right? We've got that idea. Maybe you even sketched it onto your cardboard right away, maybe not. That would be the first step today if you haven't yet though. But really today we need to make sure we've got like that base layer cut out. Now whether that base layer is a rectangle or square, maybe it's circular, mine's circular. Maybe it's the shape of the actual thing, like our butterfly, right? And if you look, like really any of these could be the shape of what it actually is. Like the man right here, that cardboard wouldn't have to necessarily be on a square. It could have been the shape of the guy with maybe just like a little bit for that peeling away. I mean, there's so many different options. But either way, the example I'm going to be showing you guys is going to be circular, because that's just how my design was. And then after that, once we've cut out that base layer and we have that design lightly drawn onto it, we're going to use our X-Acto knife to just very carefully cut the edges of where we want that cardboard texture exposed. And we're going to use our X-Acto knife to carefully lift up those edges and gently peel it away. Sometimes you might want those edges to be very sharp and crisp and clean, and sometimes you might want them to be a little bit more carefree, abstract looking. I'm going to be showing both throughout this project. My base layer, however, is going to be that like more carefree, looking almost unfinished, rough edges, okay? So that's what you're going to be seeing first, but then as we get further into this project, I'll show you more of like the very crisp, clean edges as well. I just really like that juxtaposition of like sharp and clean versus kind of grungy and edgy and raw. I think that looks really cool. So, but my first layer is going to be the one that's a little bit more abstract. So anyway, once again, step number 1, we are going to cut out our base layer, whatever that might look like. So for me, I traced a circle and I cut that out. Now you can see I've already started doing step number 2 as well. I didn't really have much to draw on my base layer because of the fact that it is just supposed to be, so this is, imagine the face wasn't there and the star isn't there. I just wanted it to be kind of like rough edges. So there wasn't, for me, there wasn't really anything to draw on this layer, but I'm going to show you some of that with layer 2, because on layer 2 I do have that. Anyway, so what I did to start exposing this was, and I'm going to show you over here. This is actually going to be covered by her face, but I want to show you guys in the example. So once again, I'm going to very carefully start to cut a seam. Now, notice I don't have cardboard underneath here. I thought, didn't we talk about we need to always have cardboard under there because otherwise you could be cutting through too? Well, remember, for this, I am being so careful to only cut that top layer because I just want to be exposing this. I don't want to be cutting through the whole thing. So for this, I'm not going to worry about that so much. So I don't know if you guys can see this well. Do you see that? Here, I'll point to it with my X-Acto knife. Maybe we can see it a little better that way. You guys see that little cut I made right there? It's probably pretty hard to see. Anyway, what I'm going to do this while holding it in the air. Do not try this at home, guys. Make sure you have yours on a flat surface. But I want to make sure we can see it in camera. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of taking and picking up very carefully, very gently. We don't want to break our X-Acto knife, but it's starting to lift that up. Now I'm going to take and start peeling it away. And sometimes it might not peel nicely. Like that did not peel nicely. So I'm going to have to go back in and lift some more. Like that. And once again, start peeling away. Now I can see it a little bit better. And so can you tell how like this is a nice sharp crisp line? I'm going to do a little bit more so you can see it a little bit better. But because I made that very distinct cut, that's how I'm going to get that nice crisp line. Once again, that's not actually what I'm going for on this layer, but I still want to show you guys in case you happen to be. So there we go. And I would just keep on going with that, okay? Now, I wanted mine to be more abstract like this, so I didn't really, aside from like making an initial cut just to like get started, the rest of it, really all I'm doing is kind of just flicking and pulling it up a bit. Maybe over here I want a little bit more. And so that's how you get it to look a little bit more like that rough edge, okay? Which is what I want for my base layer. And you might want this maybe you don't want that at all in your project, or maybe you want a few layers of yours to be more like this. We're all going to be so different as far as how these look. Mine is going to have in total about 5 layers, so that means I'm going to need to do more than 1 layer a day. But mine are more simple layers. Maybe your first layer is more complicated. It's going to be a little different. I'm just going to show you different techniques throughout the days here. But let's just pretend that, you know, I had this all done, but maybe I need to go back and I wanted to paint some of it, or color some of it, or add darker lines for the drawing part of it. It's going to be different for each of us, but just know that that would be a possibility at this point once you've got the cardboard exposed and looking the way you want it to. But I'm going to move on to my layer 2, because like I said, I got to do more than 1 layer a day. So what I did was I took a piece of cardboard. My second layer is going to be her face here. Okay, so like that is layer 2. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a piece of cardboard and I'm going over the top. Obviously it doesn't need to go the whole way, right? Because it's only supposed to cover part of that background. And I'm going to make sure that I trace this so that the edges line up perfectly. And then I would cut that out. Now I actually already have that done, so saving some time for the video, right? So I already had that cut out. So here we go. Let's line that up just like that. So you can see it matches perfectly. And now my next step is going to be to draw on the outline of her face. And you can see, you guys, I started drawing it here. I was like, oh, nope, too big. And then I drew it here. I'm like, oh, nope, too big, because this one, by the time I would get down here, I don't really have room for that, the chin anymore if I stuck with that size. So then I drew it a little bit smaller yet. So notice, like, I didn't even do it perfectly on the first try. That's okay. That's what pencil's for. We have erasers, right? So now that I've got it looking the way that I want, and it lines up well on this edge, I am now going to put it onto a piece of cardboard, because this time I am cutting all the way through, right? We don't want to be cutting through onto your work area. Now, don't feel, just because we're cutting all the way through, don't feel like you have to cut all the way through on the first time cutting it. So I usually take about 2 to 3 times before it's actually going to go all the way through. I prefer to be a little bit more careful and make sure that I'm getting the cut right than pushing too hard and then accidentally like cutting myself or cutting the image incorrectly and not having it turn out the way that I wanted it to. So I'd rather do it this way. So now I'm just cutting this out. And give me a second to get those details. I'm going to go a little faster than I would normally just because I don't want this video to take forever. But we're getting there. Almost done. Just getting around down here by the chin. And so what I'm going to do, once this is cut out, my second layer actually doesn't have any texture on it whatsoever. My second layer is just going to be the outline of her face, and then I'm going to start bringing texture back in with the hair. So right now I'm just going to get this cut out. Let's see, do I need to go a little deeper in a few more spots? But then this is where I'm going to have my glue ready to go. And I will be gluing the second layer down to, there we go. Oh, it's starting to come. There's a couple spots. I got to get it a little bit more cut. The design on the other side holding it together a little bit much. Okay, let's get that out of the way. But then I would take my glue. You can use your hot glue. You can use Elmer's glue. You can use even a glue stick if you wanted to, but I would be gluing that on next, and I'll be ready for the next layer next class. So have fun with this. Be careful with this. Remember, our goal in art is to make sure that everybody leaves with all their eyeballs, fingers, toes, all your blood. We like to keep that all intact. So be very careful with this, and have fun, you guys. Can't wait to see how this starts to turn out.